Hi, I'm Vanessa Lake, a mental health therapist, spiritual practitioner, and energy healer. Today, we're diving into something a little more metaphysical, but I promise it's also incredibly practical: the Akashic Records. What they are, how they can help you heal, and why you might actually want to explore them, not just for curiosity about past lives, but for real soul level transformation that affects this lifetime right now. What are the Akashic Records? Well, the simplest way to think about the Akashic Records is this: it's like the soul's library. But instead of dusty old books, it's pure energy. It's a living field of information that holds the patterns, choices, beliefs, wounds, and lessons your soul has carried across lifetimes. When you access your Akashic Records, you're reading the blueprint of you, not just who you are today, but how you got here and where your soul wants to go next. Some people imagine it as an actual library with books. Others feel it as a field of light or energy. Mine's a field, like a whole scene in nature. I have a lake, there's some mountains, there's a whole meadow, there's a forest. It's definitely a field. The form doesn't matter. What matters is that the records hold your soul's memory across time, space, lifetimes, even across dimensions. And before you worry, no, you don't have to believe in past lives or be spiritual enough to benefit from this. Think of it like uncovering your personal operating system. You don't need to fully understand your computer's code to fix a bug. Same here. So, why would you want to open your records? This is where it gets practical. Most of us carry repeating patterns: the same fears, the same relationship dynamics, and the same inner critic that won't shut up. We try therapy, we try affirmations, we try sheer willpower, and yet the same damn issues recycle. And that something deeper usually lives in your Akashic field. In other words, it's not just psychological, it's soul level memory. For example, fear of speaking your truth? Maybe a past life where you were punished for your voice. Relationship patterns that feel like deja vu? Maybe a soul contract that needs to shift. Chronic guilt or anxiety that you can't explain? Could be ancestral or karmic energy hanging around. Feeling stuck in your purpose? Your soul might be trying to remind you of gifts you've carried for lifetimes. Leave a comment and let me know if any of this resonates with you. When we access the records, we can identify these patterns at their root, not just manage symptoms. It's like pulling the weeds out by their roots instead of mowing over them every week. I did a reading for a client who was struggling with several issues. I had no idea they were all connected in one lifetime. Basically, the root of her problems. But it kept showing up over many different lifetimes. This client didn't feel like she could ever disagree with her husband or make a decision for herself. She'd always defer to him for what she should be doing with her life, which was giving her power away. She wanted her voice back. What the guides showed me was a lifetime in a village long ago that was being attacked by some other tribe. This was a brutal time period. I knew it was her husband, and he was telling her to stay inside the house to hide from the raiders, but she didn't listen. She ran outside to save the dog. Unfortunately, her husband was killed. This experience filled her with such guilt for not listening to her husband, for making her own choice, that she felt responsible for his death and vowed she would always listen to him and never herself. It was a soul vow from deep pain and trauma, which is why it was carried over many lifetimes and showed up now in her relationship with him. Now, also in this life that they were showing me, she was attacked, but she lived. She suffered blunt force trauma to the head, which explains the migraines she experiences in this life, which she had went through all the doctors and medicines and all the things, and nothing was fixing the migraines. Again, because of the guilt and trauma, she felt she deserved to be punished for her choice with this physical reminder, like paying penance for a sin committed long ago. Except, frankly, I don't see saving a dog as a sin. I do the same thing. Her soul also held to the idea that leaving her house was unsafe. After all, leaving her house is what got her husband killed and herself attacked, so it totally explained why she struggled with agoraphobia in this life, the fear of leaving her home. With this knowledge of the root problem, we were able to heal on a soul level through self forgiveness exercises, releasing guilt and unhealthy vows, and integrating the lessons she learned, not just the pain. Her soul made a contract based on pain and trauma, but now she could cancel that contract and write a new one. Once she did, her current life changed completely. One life long ago, witnessed, loved, released, and healed. It's deep work and incredibly rewarding to be a part of. Oh, and don't worry, that dog that she saved, it lived a long, happy life and actually came back to her later on. So, who shows up in the records? When you're in your records, sometimes you'll meet guides, ancestors, higher beings, whoever your soul connects with for different reasons. For some, it's angels like Archangel Michael or Metatron, who's the keeper of the records, and he can guide you to what book or what information you need to know at the time. Others connect with goddesses like Kuan Yin, very healing energy, or the Morgan, if you work with death, like I do. Spirit animals, even galactic family. I'm working very much with Arcturians, Palladians, Orion Light Elders. Those have come through. One of my absolute favorites, though, I'm partial to the dragons. After meeting them and their energy and conversing with them, the lessons they have, I'm sorry, but I'm a little biased. Dragons are pretty freaking awesome to have. But the point isn't who shows up, it's why. Why is this soul piece surfacing now? Why is this old vow still binding your energy? Why are you repeating the same relationship dynamic, but with different faces? The records help you remember, release, and rewrite those patterns at their root. So, how this supports mental health and healing? As a therapist, I've seen how trauma creates protective parts of us that mean well, but can get stuck in survival mode. The Akashic Records let us work with these parts at the soul level. It's like giving your nervous system permission to let go of stories that aren't even from this lifetime. That's why it feels so freeing. It's not just healing your mind, it's healing the field your mind lives inside of. And when that weight lifts, people experience reduced anxiety and chronic stress, better boundaries in relationships, more confidence to speak their truth, make their own choices, deeper self-compassion and forgiveness, feeling grounded, lighter, and more empowered. It blends beautifully with traditional therapy work because we're addressing the deeper roots that sometimes talk therapy alone can't fully access. Now, I myself struggled with confidence. Now, I know, as a therapist, many people struggle with imposter syndrome, thinking that they aren't skilled enough, know enough, or they just doubt every decision they make. Unfortunately, it was also stopping me from doing what I felt in my soul I was meant to do. Share more, be seen, write the book, teach the classes. All the things that I got excited about until I froze and told myself I couldn't do it because I didn't know enough. I needed to be the expert. Skilled, experienced, talented, seasoned wasn't enough. I needed to be the expert. I checked in my own Akashic Records to find out where this came from because it was holding me back. Now, again, I don't just need any lifetime that this showed up. I needed the root original cause to fully release and heal it because I had a book to write and a YouTube channel to launch and classes to teach. I was shown my life in the forest of France in the 1400s. I was a healer, an herbalist. And this was before people were afraid of witches, so I was still good. I was greatly respected for my skill to help people with natural remedies. I still do that now. However, I saw a client die in my arms. I couldn't save him. I blamed myself for not knowing enough information to prevent his death. And I vowed I couldn't help anyone else until I knew enough. I want you to see how powerful emotions are. When you make a vow with intense emotions like pain, guilt, shame, grief, trauma, that binds the belief and the contract to your soul, and that spans lifetimes. Intentions and your emotions matter. Keep that in mind for this lifetime when you say things like, I'll never speak up again. I'll never ask for help again. I'll never let anyone see me cry, or whatever. It'll ripple across time. And your future self is going to have to come back and fix your shit. So just do it now. As I was saying, I made the vow to know enough to basically prevent death. A little arrogant. And my guides told me that wasn't possible. They said, you can't kill anyone. You can't. That's between them and their soul, their timing for death. What I did was assist someone in completing their soul contract to die at that moment in that way, which was their choice and desire to experience. And I facilitated that. That's an honor. Not to mention, I literally held him in my arms when he died. It was truly loving. I just couldn't see it at the time. I forgave myself. I changed my perspective. I healed that experience. And yes, after that, I wrote my book, which you can find on Amazon. And here I am making videos, even though I don't know everything there is to know about any single topic. Because frankly, my human brain could never hold that much information about anything. That's why we access the records to check out the book of info we need at the time. Keeps our heads from exploding. Now, I had that experience several years ago, and I had no idea that by healing that lifetime, instead of trying so hard to keep people alive and prevent death, I now actually help spirits cross over. I don't fight it. I hold the freaking door open. I wouldn't be able to do that had I kept the vow of needing to know more to prevent death. Now, here's the part I don't think enough people talk about. The records aren't just about fixing pain. As a trauma therapist, this took me a long time to realize. I kept thinking I just had to use the records to fix, to help, to heal. And finally, my guides asked, who would you be if you weren't a healer for one day? And yes, I had a mini freak out about that. Like, literally, that's my identity. What do you mean? Like, if I wasn't working all the time, what would I just do? You mean like for fun? Okay, I have some struggles with that. I'm still learning to make time for that. And now I can use the records to help me even just come up with ideas. Where to go? What event to attend? What new recipe to try? What next fun book to read, not just stuff for work? Or movie to watch? What playlist is my jam today? That it'll help lighten my mood, get me out of work mode all the time. Sometimes they'll tell me just go outside, go for a walk, sit in the sun. Some of those do less moments. You can ask them to explore creativity, joy, and future possibilities. You can ask to see lifetimes of joy and play, not just lifetimes of trauma. You can tap into your artistic power from a past life to help you design your website or write your book. Yeah, I did that. You can connect to your future self, the version of who you are that's already launched the program or built that dream house or wrote the book and learned how they did it. Spoiler, they didn't do it alone. Nobody creates alone. We're always co-creating with our guides, fellow humans, clients, family, friends. It's never alone. The records are like a soul laboratory, not just for healing, but for innovation, art, and joy. You can use them for that. Now, how do I use the records? Well, clearly I'm trying to have more fun, so there's that. When I first started using the records, I actually wanted to use it to talk to my loved ones who had passed on. Often it's said that you can use the Akashic Records to talk to the masters, teachers, and loved ones. And I was only focused on the loved ones. I wanted to know my ancestors that had crossed well before I was born or when I was young, and I didn't know them. I wanted to get to know them. Honestly, I didn't really care about past lives. I had enough shit to heal in this lifetime. Didn't really want to add to it. But then, working with clients, I realized past life wounds do affect the current life patterns, as some of my examples have shown. And sometimes trauma can't be healed with talk therapy or even inner child work. It needs soul level integration. 10 years as a therapist has also taught me that as much as I can do everything by the book, all the trauma modalities and treatments, there's still something deeper. Now I know what that deeper thing is. I blend my clinical trauma training, my intuitive gifts, and energy healing inside the records. That way the work is full: body, mind, and soul. Totally holistic. So here are some of the ways that I use the records today. I still talk to my ancestors. I help heal ancestral vows and contracts that bind people's energy. Integrate soul and spirit fragments that split off during trauma. Yes, I'm still a trauma therapist, even in the spiritual. Clearing land or houses where trauma energy lingers. Helping souls in transition cross over. Doing soul grid healing, which is repairing the energetic structure that supports someone's entire being. I also teach people how to access their own records, because this isn't about giving me power. I don't want to do all the work. I would have an endless supply. I'm supposed to have more fun, remember? It's about helping you remember your own soul's wisdom. I enjoy teaching and teaching people how to access their own records and talk to their own loved ones, their own guide, meet their own dragons. I mean, come on, how cool is that? So yeah, I enjoy that. And if you're curious about these, check out my other videos on grid work or sacred crossings, where I share stories of crossing stuck spirits using the Akashic Records. Put some links in the description. The Akashic Records are not just about looking back at who you were. They're about who you are now and who you're becoming. Think of them less as a history book and more as a living field that helps you heal, create, and expand into your soul's fullest expression. The field is constantly changing based on your experience. When I healed something in the past, it helped me now, and now my future looks different because I am doing things differently because I healed that. It's all connected and constantly changing. Changing your past, changing your present, it all affects your future. Goes in both directions. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know what interests you about the Akashic Records. Have you had a reading that was helpful? Go ahead and share it. It might encourage someone else to give it a try. If this resonates, I invite you to experience it for yourself. You can book an Akashic Records reading with me or go deeper with a soul grid healing session. And if you're curious to learn how to access your own records, I also teach people how to open them safely and effectively. Check out the link in the description.